before I introduce PJ, I'm just going to tell you a couple quick stories about the powerful work that the staff and I have been working on while we wait for this new building. So 1833 Society, the library trustees, they've been hard at work at fundraising, and the staff and I decided a couple years ago, we can't sit on our hands and just wait for the day that this new building opens. We really need to start building the foundation, leaning into the programs and services that we know our community need, so that we're ready in that new building to grow and to really set off. So one of the areas that we identified was technical literacy. And this is a need that no one else is covering in our community. People at the library have access to technology, and they have access to someone who will teach them how to use it. And that's free, right? So technical literacy is an area that we decided, let's develop a full technical curriculum. And we recently worked with a patron. She was a graduate, but a non-traditional student, meaning that she was older. She's not a 20-year-old graduate. And she had her degree, she had her job search planned, but she wasn't very strong in her technology skills. And so she came to the library, and we helped her in 3 key ways. First, we really helped her to structure her job search. So we said, oh, thank you. We helped her look at how can you organize this search? How can you market yourself? What skills are you really underselling? Secondly, we said, well, let's help build your confidence and build those technology skills. So she went through our technology classes. She took almost every class we offered for over a year. And then she put those classes on her resume. And that told employers, here's someone that wants to learn, that's adaptable, that's eager. And a year later, she did find a job. Oh, I forgot the third thing. The third thing that we did for her is we offered her a physical place to be, right? Have you ever hunted for a job? It's a really tough thing. And the library is this safe place that you can show up to every day with a plan on how you're going to attack that job search and reach that goal. So those were the 3 key things that we did for her. And I love this story because I remember the day when she came in to tell me that she got a job. And, the library is a connector. We connect people to what they need to follow their path, to succeed. So for some people, it's helping them find a job. It's technology skills. For some people, it's helping their children learn how to read and bringing that love of literacy into their home. For some people, it's entertainment. It's something fun to do that doesn't cost their family anything. We're the connectors. And that's why I'm passionate about this project. I'm so glad that you're all supporting it because we need a library that can function as a modern library. It's accessible to everyone, that has our meeting spaces, that has integrated technology, and that's a beautiful and comfortable place to be. So without further ado, I want to introduce PJ. I need little notes for this. He's very impressive. I met PJ for the first time today, but like many of you, you've probably heard him on NPR's Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, the NPR quiz show. It's fabulous. PJ has also written 19 books. I checked the shelves before I came in. We have 10 of them. So if you haven't read any of PJ's work, please do. My favorite title was Give War a Chance. Eyewitness accounts of mankind's struggle against tyranny, injustice, and alcohol-free beer. He writes about everything from politics to etiquette, economics to housekeeping, cars. There's something hilarious in all of his work, so I hope that you will read his work. PJ is also a contributing editor to the Weekly Standard and an H.L. Mencken Research Fellow at the Cato Institute. So thank you for being here, and we'll welcome PJ. Thank you.
Thank you all very much for coming this evening. Peterborough Town Library, you all know this, founded 1833, and it is the oldest tax-supported public library in the world. And we're here this evening to make an improvement on that tax-supported part of that by making tax-deductible donations to the Peterborough Library. So just to make sure that it meets the needs of the future as well as it's met the needs of the past. Now Peterborough has become a forward, as you can tell from what Corrine had to say, it's a forward-looking town. wasn't always such a forward-looking. I mean, he used to be always looking forward to the end of black fly season. Comes about the time Cunningham Pond ice is over. But times have changed. Peterborough's become a modern place, and I know about this because I moved up here. I moved up here from the city 40 years ago, when things were very different, when our town really was like our town, and everybody knew everything about you. I mean, I'd be on the phone making a long-distance call, and I would say to the local operator, I'm having trouble getting through to my mother in Florida, and she would say, you really ought to call her more often. And you haven't written her a real letter since Christmas. Or I'd be shopping at Derby's. Some of you older residents of Peterborough may remember Derby's, the department store over by the old train station, which is now 12 Pine. And you'd be shopping in Derby's, and the sales clerk, who I'd never seen before in my life, would say, that's not the kind of undershirt you usually wear. It was creepy. It took me a while to get used to rural Yankee ways. I'd lived in New York. I was used to banging on the pipe in my apartment when I wanted more heat in the middle of the night. I found out that didn't work very well with my wood stove. I didn't understand about municipal services. I was putting trash out at the end of my driveway for like 3 months before I noticed 3 months worth of trash at the end of my driveway. I had no idea about the dump, Plus food. If you had given a bagel to a resident of Peterborough 40 years ago, you would have said, worst donut I ever had. But we're a modern place now, and as befits a modern place, we need a modern library. We need the best possible library. And this happens to be a subject that is very close to my heart. Public libraries have had an enormous influence on my life, and not particularly because I'm a writer. That's not really what it was about. I grew up in Toledo, Ohio. And Toledo, Ohio, in the 1950s, it was kind of a rough industrial town. And I was not a happy kid. My mom was sick. My stepdad was a drunk. The house was a mess. And I was working on becoming a juvenile delinquent of the smaller, more cowardly type of juvenile delinquent. I was leading a stupid life, except on Saturdays. On Saturdays, I would go downtown to Toledo's, had this wonderful old WPA library building that had been like handcrafted in the 1930s. That was the main branch of the Toledo Public Library. And I used to go there because of the books, of course. The fact that I liked books was about my only redeeming feature at that stage of my life. But the library was more than books to me. It was beautiful. It was orderly. It was a dignified place where life wasn't stupid. And I wasn't treated as if I were stupid, even though I was pretty stupid at the time. And I'm betting that the same thing goes on right here in the Monadnock region today, That and any kid who is on the wrong track can go to our library and look around and think to himself the way I thought to myself back in the 1950s, I'll bet prison libraries aren't nearly as nice. But of course, libraries are also important to me because I am a journalist, of a kind, anyway. As speedy and full of info as a personal computer as it is, I still need a library. Because journalism, even the kind of silly journalism that I do, is impossible without libraries. Good journalism is grounded in what libraries represent. For that matter, is the kind of journalism that I do, not just the good journalism. And what libraries represent is the systematic knowledge and understanding of material and intellectual history. I know I said a mouthful there. I am batting above my weight when I say things like that. But it's important to realize how important libraries are. Libraries face challenges now, and not just the usual challenge of funding and infrastructure and so on, but I mean, libraries are in peril. Will libraries survive the internet? And I say they must, and they will, then they have to. Now, as Corrine was just discussing, our library provides internet connection, but almost everybody has that at home now, or indeed right in their pocket, like I do, you know. A good library provides something else entirely. I mean, libraries are not just repositories of things we know. They are repositories of how we know those things. I mean, collected in the Peterborough Town Library is all the thinking of the past, and the present, carefully organized to promote wisdom, learning, and sense. Now, wisdom, learning, and sense, those things are important in times like these. I mean, times like these when we don't know whether what we know is what we do know or what we don't know. I mean, times like this when we're confused, times when we go on the internet and we learn, oh my God, the things we learn. And the things we wish we could unlearn, you know? I mean, I put it in a limerick. The public is having a fit due to competition of wit between MSNBC, White House, and Fox TV over who is most full of wisdom, learning, and sense. That's what a library is, and that's what the internet is not, you know. Internet contains a lot of information. It also contains a lot of other stuff, and much of that stuff is useless. Some of that stuff is disgusting, and all of that stuff is in a senseless jumble. You know, the library is a catalog of knowledge. The internet is a landfill. Library, think stacks and Dewey Decimal System. Internet, think dumps and recycling bins. You know? A library is a recipe. 1 cup of sugar, half a cup of butter, 2 eggs, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 1.5 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons baking powder, half a cup of milk, cream, sugar, and butter, beaten in eggs, stir in vanilla, combine flour and baking powder and mix well, stirring milk until batter is smooth, bake for 35 minutes. The internet bakes a cake by throwing all those ingredients on the floor and heating the kitchen to 350 degrees. You know, I have limited use for the internet, you know. I don't blog, I don't tweet, you know. If I want to know what some like grouchy old guy sitting around in his boxer shorts just thinking over his cup of coffee in the morning, I'd ask myself. Yeah, the computer is very handy. It's a handy device. It's terrific for looking up who played Wally Cleaver on Leave It to Beaver, you know. But the computer is essentially meaningless to wisdom, learning, and sense. And my laptop may be a great technological improvement on my old IBM Selectric. Wally was played by Tony Dow. I looked that up a moment ago on my smartphone. But there is no historical indication that technological improvements in the way we inscribe our ideas lead to improvement in the wisdom, learning, and sense of the ideas themselves. In fact, I would make an opposite case. When words had to be carved in stone, when words had to be carved in stone, we got the 10 Commandments. When we had to make our own ink and chase a goose around the yard, you know, to get a quill, we got William Shakespeare. When the fountain pen was invented, we got Henry James. When the typewriter came along, we got Jack Kerouac. And with the computer, we get go Google yourself. So, let us raise a glass and make a donation to the Peterborough Town Library with its name carved in stone right over the main entrance door. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, PJ, for your wisdom, learning, and sense. We appreciate it very much. It's my opportunity now to take a moment to build on what Corinne has said and give you a little update on where we are. The library campaign, for those of you who have been with us for a long time, know has been going on for a long time. Not as long as since 1833, but a considerable period of time. And I think it started in just the right way, in that those working on this campaign went to the community and said, what do you want, what do you need in a library? And they took that wisdom, learning, and sense that came from the community and built a building to reflect the community's needs. That is what a library has become. It's not a book warehouse. Yes, it holds lots of books, and thank heavens for that, because we need that. But it has become a center for community activity. And so the new library has several features that come out of community needs. Not only does it have an incredible view of the river, reflecting our respect in this town for the beauty of nature. It doesn't quite rival this view, but we're trying. But the town library also provides the new library will provide an entire area of its own for children to learn to read. It will be a children's hall. The Elizabeth Room now, for those of you who know the Elizabeth Room, is in fact an undifferentiated corner of the library where the stacks are just a little shorter. Bob and I were talking about our grandsons coming to visit, and we said, well, with black flies and rain, what are we going to do? We could take them to the library. And then I said, no, we can't. They're far too loud. Male 4-year-olds in the library, I don't know. So we need a place where kids can be kids in order to learn the joy of reading. We also need a place that's really accessible to all. Those who are mobility impaired now have to go from one floor to the other by going out the front door, down through the snow and the muck and the ice to the lower area in order to change floors. That's not a library for all. That's a library for some. The library also provides what the community said it needed, which is lots of meeting rooms. I'm relatively new to this community. Bob and I have been here just shy of 2 years. And in that time, with the groups that I've become involved in, I've tried to find meeting rooms in town. It's difficult. This library will have small meeting rooms for small meetings, places where technology classes can take place, where job interview work sessions can occur, where resume writing workshops can be given, and also have a wonderful, large, flexible space. They can have chairs or no chairs. We were talking to one of our leading manufacturing companies recently, Sue and I, and the person there said, could you possibly offer team building workshops? We can't find a place to do it. Well, yes, we could, in this room. So it's a room that will provide that opportunity for the community to come together. It also reflects our values in this town in terms of green technology. We think it will be one of the first carbon neutral public libraries in this country. And will have a state-of-the-art heating and air conditioning system that will be carbon neutral. So that is really exciting. There are so many things in the current library that don't conform to what I just described. Things you can't see, like the wind whistling through the windows that were put in 1950, or the leaks that are coming through the roof, or all the children whose grandparents said, you can't go to the library, you're too loud. The new library will give us the room for that, the room to grow the kinds of programs that Corinne has been putting in place, programs for teens and tweens, places for students to go who don't have internet at home, either because they live in a rural area or because there isn't the family support for it. This is a place that will be safe and warm and secure. In 1833, this is the idea that Reverend Abbott had. Those of you who know the history of libraries know they began as collections put together by the rich, who then sold library cards, in effect, membership cards, to their friends so that they could borrow and exchange books. It was the rich lending to the rich and sharing the wisdom, learning, and sense of that particular socioeconomic group. And Reverend Abbott said, no, we need a library that, like the public school, is open to all, that is owned by all and is for the benefit of all. The new library will be that. It will be able to encompass the kind of individual that Corinne told us a story about. The person who's mobility impaired, the high school student who doesn't have books at home and doesn't have a safe space, an orderly, calm, and dignified space in which to explore the world of ideas. There are pictures of the library in the back. The bricks and mortar tell a fabulous story, but there is also the story of the ideas behind this library. I'm really here today to give you some exciting news. Thanks to the Capital Campaign Committee, We are now more than 90% of our way to goal. This is incredible. And that's because of you and your neighbors and your friends who have supported this effort. It's because of you who went and voted for the town warrant, and we thank you so much for that. We couldn't have put this together without you. As a fundraiser myself, I know the last 10% is really hard. It's always the hardest because everybody's tired and we're almost there. We're at the point now where we need to get that final 10% in. And so we've come to ask you for three things. First of all, we want to thank you. We couldn't have done it without you. Secondly, we want to say we need you and we need you now. Some of the grants that were gotten early on in the campaign are now in danger of expiring at the end of this calendar year if we can't start construction. And that would only increase the amount of money that we as a community would have to raise. We need to get the last 10%. 10%, $700,000. Not what's in my bank account, but compared to the $8.5 million that is the bottom line, we are almost there. So we need you, as Bob and I are doing, to dig deeper into your pockets and say, can I make a deeper commitment to the library? Because we need to get over this final hump. And then thirdly, we want to ask you if you know of individuals, your neighbors, your friends, your relatives. Bob and I got our son and daughter-in-law to give. They live in Washington, D.C., but their grandsons will be coming to this library when they're quieter. And are there people that we should talk to? Are there people we should tell about this project so that they too will have the joy of participating in it and knowing when it opens that they were part of the continuation of a tradition that dates back to 1833 and had worldwide impact? So we want to thank you for this. This is one of the things that attracted Bob and me to it is this is not an annual appeal. This is a one-time construction project, and we need to pull together to make it happen. Our timetable right now is we're looking at pledges that can be paid out over the next 2 years, so over 2020 and 2021. So not necessarily something that you have to go and write a check for this instant, although if you feel so moved, we would not stop. But we would like very much to invite you to participate at a deeper level if you can do that, and to help us reach out to other individuals who might want to participate. So thank you so much for coming. I want to thank Diane and Peter again for their kind hospitality.